Curse of the Kichai Shaman. Chapter 25. The Coven crumbles. On Monday morning, October 30th, Detective Ertel called Special Agent Bartley and informed him that Richard Nergal was dead and that they had found Diane Hayward Smithlin's car near the scene. The detective told him that according to the witnesses, Richard Nergal had broken into David Madur's house and had assaulted him and was disarmed by David's wife's dog and then shot and killed by David's wife. Special Agent Bartley told Detective Ertel that 3 members of the Order of Nergal were arrested on Friday on October 27th in Goldthwaite, Texas, and were being arraigned that morning at the Travis County Federal Courthouse in Austin, Texas. Modico, Venator, and Diane were brought from the Travis County Jail on 10th Street to the Austin United States Courthouse on West 5th Street for their arraignment. Marcus Barth was their lawyer. He was the one that aided Domina in escaping and was a member of the Order of Nergal. He had driven down from Fort Worth, Texas the night before. Present in the courtroom was Special Agent Bartley. The first criminal defendant called was Modico Sacerdos a.k.a. Joshua Bostic. The prosecutor was Daniel Tubbs, and the presiding judge was Clyde Harris. Marcus Barth present for the defense. Modico was charged with harboring a fugitive and conspiracy to commit murder. Marcus Barth said that he was pleading not guilty. Judge Harris, under advisement of Prosecutor Tubbs, remanded him to custody. According to Judge Harris, he was facing up to 20 years in prison if convicted. Marcus Barth objected and asked for a bond but was denied. He then asked for a speedy trial, and Judge Harris set the trial date as Wednesday, November 8th. The second criminal defendant was Diane Hayward Smithland. Judge Harris read the charges, which included murder for hire, conspiracy to commit murder, and first-degree murder for the death of Chris Folsom. Judge Harris said she faced life in prison if convicted. Marcus Barth said that she pleaded not guilty. Prosecutor Tubbs recommended that she be remanded, and she was also remanded to custody by Judge Harris. Marcus Barth requested a speedy trial, and Judge Harris set the trial date for Monday, November 20th. Finally, criminal defendant Venator Aquilex, a.k.a. Mike Eichhorst, was called. Judge Harris read the charges, which included RICO, first-degree murder for the death of Chris Folsom, conspiracy to commit murder, and murder for hire, and felony stalking. Judge Harris said that he faced the death penalty if convicted of first-degree murder. Marcus Barth said that he pleaded not guilty and requested a speedy trial. Again, Judge Harris remanded Venator to custody, and he would be tried with Diane on Monday, November 20th. Modico, Venator, and Diane were taken back to the Travis County Jail. Then the next day, Halloween, October 31st, Venator requested to talk to the prosecutor. He had fired Marcus Barth as his lawyer and had a new lawyer. He offered to plead guilty and cooperate with the prosecution if they would take the death penalty off the table. On November 1st, the federal prosecutor Daniel Tubbs and Special Agent Bartley met with Venator, who was now going by his real name of Mike Eichhorst. His new lawyer, Eric Brooks, who had no connection to the Order of Nergal, was there to represent him. Daniel Tubbs offered Mike a.k.a. Venator life in prison if he pleads guilty and cooperates with Special Agent Bartley's investigation. As the secretary of the Order of Nergal, Mike Eichhorst was familiar with the members and their relationships with each other. Special Agent Bartley handed Mike Eichhorst a list of 2 names of members of the Order of Nergal that he was looking for. The names were Marjorie Loverich and Domina Curionis, a.k.a. Mary Anderson. He asked Mike where they might be hiding. Mike asked for a pen and paper. Special Agent Bartley gave him a yellow legal pad and a ballpoint pen. Mike wrote down that Marcus Barth, the lawyer, was a member of the Order of Nergal and often conspired in crimes involving the members. Mike then wrote down that Domina Curionis, a.k.a. Mary Anderson's best friend in the Order of Nergal, was Puella Conscribit, a.k.a. Jessica Walton, and that they were probably together. He went on to write that Puella did not have a set address, but spent her time living with other members of the Order of Nergal. He knew that in the past she had lived with Divis Kalis, a.k.a. Nancy Tester, at 102 McClung Street in Quinwood, West Virginia. She also lived with Occultus Agricola, a.k.a. Robert Hoistgen, at 219 Morgan Road in MacArthur, Ohio, and Harris Lyman, a.k.a. Bill Norberg, at 2421 Vernon Avenue in Baldwin, Pennsylvania. Mike then wrote down that Marjorie Loverich's best friend was Avia Monial, a.k.a. Donna Floyd, at 4925 Isle Road in Ponchatoula, Louisiana, but that she had spent time with Vestigium Ducto, a.k.a. Jeremy Rhoda, at 219 Rice Avenue in Lambert, Mississippi also. Mike said that he did not know where Richard Nergal, a.k.a. Richard Smithland, was, as he had stolen his money and took Diane's car and disappeared. Special Agent Bartley told Mike that Richard was dead. Mike asked how he died, and Special Agent Bartley told him he had been shot by David Madur's wife when he broke into David's house. Mike then slid the yellow legal tablet back to Special Agent Bartley and gave him back his pen. Special Agent Bartley told Mike that he would have to testify against the other members of the Order of Nergal, and Mike said that he would, if they took the death penalty off the table. Marcus Barth, upon hearing that Mike Eichhorst had fired him and was going to cooperate, started calling the members of the Order of Nergal to warn them. The first person he called was Puella Conscribit, who was staying with Occultus Agricola since October 17th. Marcus first spoke a Latin phrase, and Puella answered with a Latin phrase. Once he was satisfied that it was indeed Puella, he said, "Venator got arrested by the feds. He fired me as his lawyer and is cooperating with them. Most members are not safe now." Puella said, "Domina Occultus and I are leaving the country. The first thing we did when we got here 15 days ago was obtain false identities. We have passports and have applied for and got approved working visas to go to Italy. Preceptor Conditor has bought the entire village of Buriano, Montecatini, Val di Cecina, and is selling homes only to members of the order. We are going to live there." What she told Marcus Barth was true. Upon their arrival on Tuesday the 17th of October, Puella, Domina, Occultus, and Nicola had decided to leave the country. Puella is independently wealthy from a trust fund that she inherited from her being in the Walton family, who have made billions in the fashion industry. She has $199 million and was able to pay about $262,000 for forged Ohio driver's licenses, social security cards, birth certificates, passports with non-sequential numbers, and was able to obtain working visas for Occultus, Nicole, Domina, and herself. She even got a marriage certificate for Occultus and Nicole, who had quickly kindled a romantic relationship. Occultus's and Nicole's new names were Francesco and Sofia Russo. Puella was now Aurora Romano, and Domina was Emma Colombo. They were all set to fly to Pisa International Airport in Tuscany on Monday, November the 6th, and were using the time in between to study Italian. Puella was already fluent in Italian and was helping the others learn it. When they got word of Venator's defection to the feds, they arranged to fly out of Columbus International Airport in 2 days on the 3rd of November. But they packed up and drove, crammed into Puella's Subaru BRZ to Columbus, Ohio that night, and checked into the Hotel Levesque for 2 nights. They stayed at the hotel with no complications. They were booked on a Lufthansa flight leaving at 6:35 a.m. on Friday, November 3rd. Puella paid the airfare, which was $6,564 for 4 tickets, with a bank card to a new account she had set up in her new name, Aurora Romano. They abandoned Puella's car at the airport and took their luggage out of the trunk. They each had only one small suitcase and a travel bag. They made their way into the airport and checked in for their flight. They each checked one suitcase and kept their small carry-on bag with them. They were able to board their flight, which first flew to New York. In New York, they got on a flight to London, England. They made it through customs with their fake documents and were able to make their flight to Pisa. In the Pisa International Airport, they had their bags searched and then were granted access to enter Italy, their fake documents not raising any alarms. Preceptor Conditor met them at the airport in Pisa. He had a van that had Buriano Albergo on the side, which translates to Buriano Inn. Preceptor had renovated a large stone building that housed a small inn that had been abandoned in 1998. He drove them the 68 kilometers from Pisa to his abandoned village. He had bought the whole town and was looking forward to selling houses to members of the Order of Nergal in Italy. The whole village was nestled in a dark forest. Back on November 1st, the day that Venator flipped sides, Marcus Barth called Avia Monial in Ponchatoula, Louisiana, who was hiding Marjorie Lovrich, who was wanted for harboring and conspiracy to commit murder. He first spoke a Latin phrase, and when Avia answered in a Latin phrase, he began to speak freely. He told her that Venator had betrayed the Order of Nergal and that many members were not safe. He said that a lot of members were moving to Italy to a village called Buriano, Montecatini, Val di Cecina. Then Marcus Barth called Marjorie Lovrich. He again spoke a Latin phrase, and Marjorie responded with her Latin phrase. He said that she was wanted for harboring and conspiracy to commit murder in Texas. She was sitting beside Avia at the time. He also told her about Buriano, Italy, and gave her a number to where she could get forged documents for $6,500, and suggested that if she had the means, then this was her best bet to avoid capture. He gave her an Italian phone number, but told her not to call it from the United States. After they got calls from Marcus Barth, they talked about it and decided that they would go to Italy. But first they had to find a safe place to hang out until Marjorie could get her forged documents. Avia had 2 daughters who had kids of their own. She did not want to involve them just in case the police checked with her next of kin. One of her daughters had a friend who was Avia's godchild, so she called her. Her name was Elena Avery, and she lived a secluded life with her life partner Zoe Long at 102 Brookhaven Drive in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Zoe Long had inherited their house when her parents passed away. They were not rich and always needed money. So when Avia asked Elena if they could stay with them for $300 a night, Zoe and Elena were thrilled and said that they would love to have them over. Zoe and Elena knew nothing about the Order of Nergal. Avia and Marjorie packed up some of their clothes into 2 suitcases and grabbed a small cooler with some drinks and fled Avia's house in Avia's Mazda CX-90. They went up I-55 north to I-12 west and made their way to Baton Rouge in under an hour. They pulled into 102 Brookhaven Drive and were warmly greeted by Elena and Zoe. Elena and Zoe said they could use their spare bedroom for as long as they wanted, as long as they did not mind sharing a bed. The first thing Marjorie did was call the number Marcus Barth had given her for her to get the forged documents. The man on the other end of the line said he would need $65,000 and a picture of Marjorie on a white background and her date of birth. She was given an account number to wire the money to and an email address to send the picture to. Then she called her accountant and gave him the account number and told him to wire the $65,500 from her offshore account in the Cayman Islands. They took a picture of Marjorie with Avia's phone with Marjorie standing against a white wall. Avia emailed it to the email address they were given with Marjorie's name in the email. On Friday, November 3rd, Marjorie got a call from her accountant, and he told her that the money had gone through, so Marjorie called the number to the forgers and confirmed that they got the email and money transfer. They told her that she would get a package in the email in about 5 to 6 days. Marjorie gave them the address at 102 Brookhaven in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to send the package to. On the 9th of November, a package came addressed to Adriana Ercolano. It was a social security card, a birth certificate, an Ohio driver's license, and a passport. The driver's license had a different background color on her photo than the passport to avoid suspicion. And they had photoshopped her into a different shirt on the passport. Avia already had all her legal documents and passport, so with Marjorie's forged documents, they were able to get a tourist visa to visit Italy by November 19th. Marjorie, who was now going by the name of Adriana Ercolano, and Avia, whose real name was Donna Floyd, booked a flight from Baton Rouge to Pizza. They would fly on United Airlines from Baton Rouge to Dallas, then fly from Dallas to New York, also on United Airlines. Then they would take Lufthansa from New York to London and then from London to Pizza. Before they left Elena's and Zoe's house, they signed the title of Avia's Mazda CX-90 over to Elena, and then gave Zoe $6,000 for letting them stay with them. Marjorie had made her accountant wire $20,000 from Grand Cayman to Avia's account, and Avia had gone to the local bank and got cash for Zoe. Avia had paid for the airline tickets using her real name of Donna Floyd, and she was traveling under that name as that is what was on all her legal documents. She had never formally changed her name to Avia. They each packed 1 suitcase, and each had a travel bag they had obtained for the trip. Elena drove them to the airport, and they flew to Dallas, then New York with no problems. They then switched to Lufthansa Airlines and flew to London. Their bags were searched in London, but they had nothing illegal. So they went on to Pisa, where their bags were searched again, but they made it through customs with little trouble. They checked into the Casa Giulia, which was by the airport in Pisa, and got some needed sleep from the series of long flights. It was November 22nd in the morning when Marjorie, now going as Adriana, called the Italian number that Marcus Barth had given them. A man answered and said a phrase in Latin. Adriana said her Latin phrase, then asked if he spoke English. He did not, but they were able to talk in broken Latin, and he said his son would be right there to pick them up and take them to his hotel in Buriano. About 3 hours later, Adriana and Donna, as they were now known, were in the lobby waiting when Adriana's phone rang. A different man spoke a Latin phrase, and Adriana answered in a Latin phrase. The man then said in English that he was in front of the hotel with a van that said Buriano Albergo on the side. Adriana and Donna went outside the hotel and saw the van. A young man was there and said, Benedictus Nergal. When he approached them, they responded with, Benedictus Nergal. He then took their suitcases and travel bags and loaded them in the van. He said that his father sent him since he speaks English and that his father owns the whole village of Buriano. They drove almost 90 kilometers for over 2 hours when they came to a bumpy dark forest road. The village of Buriano was in a thick forest. They began to pass some old stone buildings until they came up to a large stone building. The young man said that this was the hotel that they could stay at. He said it was exclusively for members of the Order of Nergal. Adriana and Donna, as they were now known, had made it to the sanctuary for the Order of Nergal. They were among like-minded people and accepted for who they were. They were given rooms in the small inn that was in the large stone building and told that they could purchase a house in the village and refurbish it. In the meantime, they could stay at the inn and would be protected. Venator, now known as Mike Eichhorst, had completely betrayed the Order of Nergal. Special Agent Bartley had met with him again on Friday, November 3rd. Not only had he turned on his co-conspirators, on this day he had also given up the lawyer Marcus Barth and Ryan Dodson, who was Diane's and Richard's accountant, among others. Special Agent Bartley brought him photocopies of journals found at his house, and Mike quickly deciphered them. The FBI had broken the cipher but did not always understand the coded language, which was often in Latin. Mike understood the code, and through this effort he provided over 100 names. These were the same names that Marcus Barth had access to, and he had called everybody and warned them. But Marcus Barth was an even higher member of the Order and had phone numbers to the hierarchy of the Order of Nergal, members who were secret even from Mike, and who had taken precautions to not give one person all the information in case of someone becoming a traitor to the Order of Nergal. On Monday, the 6th of November, the FBI raided Marcus Barth's law office in Fort Worth, Texas, and found him there. As the FBI agents were entering the building, Marcus started a fire in his wastepaper basket and burned the coded paper that had the phone numbers of the hierarchy of the Order of Nergal. He was arrested and taken to the Dallas County Jail. At the same time, in Los Angeles, Ryan Dodson's accounting office was raided by the FBI and he was taken to the Los Angeles County Jail. Ryan had many normal clients as well as clients that were members of the Order of Nergal. The FBI had put together a team of lawyers to separate the innocent clients from the members of the Order of Nergal, but found that all of the members of the Order of Nergal had their information in the Order's cipher, so they were easy to tell apart. By the 8th of November, the FBI had frozen the accounts of the known members, but found that most of the accounts had the money withdrawn from them and put into offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. From what the FBI learned from Mike Eichhorst, they were able to charge Marcus Barth, the lawyer, with a multitude of crimes. To start with, he was charged under RICO with murder, conspiracy, and aiding and abetting, so that they could hold him without bond. They had less on Ryan Dodson, the accountant, and he was charged with aiding and abetting and conspiracy and was granted a bond of $20,000 and he was able to bond out of jail. On Thursday, November 10th, Marcus Barth was found dead in his cell while in protective custody. He had hung himself with a ripped-up bedsheet. The circumstances looked suspicious because his feet were touching the ground. The FBI sent agents around to the members that were listed in Mike's journals. Most of the members that were located did not have any criminal history. Many of the members who were wealthy could not be located, and it was believed that they fled the country. For the most part, the members of the Order of Nergal were law-abiding. They did not drink or do drugs. The only thing that the FBI could do was put them on a watch list. Ethan Carrico was charged with kidnapping, attempted murder of a law enforcement officer and David Madure, and the murder of Chris Folsom in federal court. He pleaded guilty and testified against Diane Hayward Smithland. The kidnapping and attempted murder charge were dropped, and he was given 20 years in prison for the murder of Chris Folsom. Diane Hayward Smithland was charged with murder for hire, conspiracy, attempted murder against Ethan Carrico, and murder for the death of Chris Folsom. She was charged in federal court. Ethan Carrico and Mike Eichhorst testified against her. David was put on the witness list and was at the courthouse during the trial, but did not get called to testify. She was given 25 years in prison. Venator, a.k.a. Mike Eichhorst, was charged with RICO, murder for the death of Chris Folsom, conspiracy to commit murder against Ethan Carrico, and conspiracy to commit murder against David Madure. He pleaded guilty in federal court and cooperated in the case against Diane Hayward Smithland. And Sicarius Monicus a.k.a. Tyler Walsh and Modico Sacerdos a.k.a. Joshua Bostic. All charges were dropped except the murder of Chris Folsom. He was given life in prison. Oxysor Monachus a.k.a. Andrew Walsh was charged with attempted murder of David Madure, conspiracy, and murder for hire. He pleaded guilty in federal court and all charges were dropped except attempted murder. He testified against his brother Sicarius Monachus a.k.a. Tyler Walsh and Modico Sacerdos a.k.a. Joshua Bostic, and was given 5 years in prison and 10 years probation. Sicarius Monachus a.k.a. Tyler Walsh was charged with murder for hire, conspiracy, and felony deadly conduct in federal court. His brother Andrew Walsh and David Madure testified against him. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and 15 years probation. Modico Sacerdos a.k.a. Joshua Bostic was charged with harboring and aiding and abetting in federal court. Mike Eichhorst and Andrew Walsh testified against him. As a first-time offender, he was given 10 years probation. Ryan Dodson, the accountant, was convicted of conspiracy and given 10 years probation as a first-time offender. The death of Richard Nergal a.k.a. Richard Smithland was investigated by the Austin police, and Helene Crofton's shooting of him was deemed to be a justifiable homicide, and the case was closed. The Order of Nergal was dealt a major blow because of the curse of the Kichai Shaman that was put on Richard and also affected David.